Okay. Good morning. We'll call to order the meeting of the Lancaster Criminal Justice Commission at 10:02 a.m. Roll call.
Commissioners Brown.
Present.
Harris.
Here.
Herr.
Present.
McCracken. Present. Paris. Absent. Vice Chair Little.
Present.
Chairman Mercy.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Invocation this morning, Pam Bulge from Assemblymember Lackey's office will lead our invocation.
Lord God, we thank you for this opportunity to come and learn more about protecting the city. I thank you for these leaders and the time that they are committing to not only protecting the people, but communicating the information to the other leaders so that we can all be informed and we can best do the jobs that you have set before us. I ask, Lord God, that your blessing would be upon each one and on our time together today. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. And we're very privileged to have Assemblymember Lackey here with us this morning. He will lead our Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in this American tradition. Place your hand over your heart. Remove your hats if you have your hat. And repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we have a presentation this morning by Assemblymember Lackey. Thank you very much for being here, and we're excited to hear from you.
Well, it's always a joy to actually have a group of people who are a little bit closer to being like-minded than being in the legislature or public safety committee. I will also tell you that I was very privileged to have met with Chris Roberts and Michael Katz from your code enforcement, and we discussed a very important issue facing the entire country, but especially in California and especially out here in the Antelope Valley, and that is the illicit indoor grows of cannabis. Very big problem and a very stark set of circumstances that are very threatening to this entire culture, in all truth. And it's not getting the attention it deserves, and we're going to work on that. We have an opportunity to do a presentation here in just about 2 weeks at the state capitol, where I'll be a featured speaker talking to a group of officers who are narcotics officers. And this is a very, very important issue, and I think you have one of the state's probably most knowledgeable in Michael Katz. So we're going to utilize him, and we look forward to his information because I think it's very helpful, and you should be very honored that he works here in this city. It is a privilege to talk about issues that are very near and dear to me, as everyone probably knows. I've spent 28 years with the California Highway Patrol, and as a member of the Public Safety Committee for all 8 years that I've been in this office. And I can tell you that I'm pretty disheartened with what I see as a member of that committee and what I see happening around this entire state. Violent crime, retail theft, fentanyl overdoses, and the vilification of law enforcement are all on the rise. But I don't have to tell any of you that. You all know. And all you have to do is visit any major city. We're not unique in this category. Any major city in this entire country, and especially the state of California, has gone soft on crime. And a recent PPIC survey found that 76% of California adults, not 76% of conservative people, 76% of all Californians think that violence and street crime is a major problem. And that's why our discussion and your perspective is so important. The unfortunate reality is that rising crime is a direct result of bad policy that's coming from our state assembly and state senate. I don't know who it can be, and I'm so sorry. All right, a little distraction there, but we'll recover here. I have a great deal of respect for most of my colleagues and their misguided approach to criminal justice, but it has created a real crisis in our culture. And to give you a snapshot of just how out of control things have become, here are just a handful of the dangerous bills that my colleagues on the Assembly Public Safety Committee have given the green light, so they're moving through. SB 81 which creates a presumption that almost all inmates should be granted parole when eligible, providing an avenue for violent criminals to get back on the street regardless of their behavior while incarcerated. SB 94, which allows prisoners sentenced to life without the possibility of parole to be eligible for reduced sentencing after serving just a portion of their original sentence. AB 1310, which permits felons who use firearms during their crimes to have their sentences retroactively reduced. What kind of logic is this? Meanwhile, the same committee needed to be pressured on SB 14, and I'm pretty sure everybody at least is somewhat familiar with this measure because it increased the penalty for sex trafficking of minors. How in the world do you not embrace that? I mean, decency is in question, unfortunately, because all that bill did, everybody, was just categorize sex trafficking minors as a serious felony. That's it, as a serious felony. Who in the world opposes that? Because what it does do, and the reason why it was opposed, is because sentence enhancements are opposed by this committee. Carte blanche. And this increases the penalty for those trafficking children, because what it does do is you have to repeat the offense in order for this statute to take place. So you're basically giving a green light to these cretins who actually are comfortable trafficking children. How offensive. I don't know how you get more offensive than that. And it's utterly reprehensible in my definition of reprehensible. There's no other term that accurately depicts what's happening. And even though this got rerouted because of the outcry being so intense that it rose to the level of the governor within hours of this vote. And as you know, the governor has pretty big eyes right now, looking at some things in a national lens. And thankfully, he acted responsibly and said, this is not okay. We need to readdress this. And he pulled the necessary levers, and we did address this. Again, when I say we, the Public Safety Committee on the Assembly side. And let me remind you that this particular provision passed the state Senate unanimously. And you have certain members in the Senate there like, okay, I'll call him out. Senator Weiner is not a bastion of conservatism, folks. He embraced this measure twice. So when it came to the Assembly, I thought it would pass through, but it did not. And as a matter of fact, even in the redress, even the second vote we took, we had 2 members who could not support it. So that's how serious things have become in the group of colleagues that I get to work with. Update on Second Amendment gun rights. I think that there's some hypocritical and unconstitutional legislation in the realm of what they call gun control. Despite losing a case after case in the appellate level of our court system, California continues to crack down on legal firearm owners, trying to criminalize the Second Amendment rights and take away this fundamental freedom. The focus is on those who are actually paying attention to the law, right? Those are the people that this kind of ideology addresses. They're not our threat, everybody. The people that follow rules are not the ones we need to control. What we need to control are these people who don't have accountability, don't care about rules that we're setting. And so what we should be focusing on is consequences for those people, but that's not the way we're doing it. As a highway patrol officer, I can tell you I carried a firearm at my side that unequivocally served as a tool for de-escalation and ensuring safety, just by the mere presence of having that weapon. Those kinds of considerations are completely dismissed. And I even refuse to use the term gun violence, because how can a gun be violent unless it's in the hands of a violent thinking or violent acting individual? It's violence with a gun. Nevertheless, people who don't think like me in the legislature continue to conduct ways to strip gun owners of their firearms while ignoring rampant violent crime and giving criminals a slap on the wrist. The most concerning and consequential bill in this session is SB 2. This radical bill attempts to revive limits on legal concealed carry weapons that have already been struck down by the court, as I mentioned earlier. If signed by the governor, this measure will, among other things, expand the location in which people carrying concealed weapons will become illegal to possess, at the extent to where even if you have a CCW, why would you even have one if you can't carry it in certain locations? But that's what's going to happen. It includes banning CCWs in any public area where they have not been explicitly allowed by a business or other establishment. So, once again, it highlights the discrepancy of treatment by my colleagues between law-abiding and law-breaking citizens, as those who undergo the proper procedures and background checks are regulated and scrutinized under a microscope. Again, we're focusing on the compliant people instead of the non-compliant, and the non-compliant people are getting less and less accountability. So common sense has prevailed a few times, however, and a number of bills were actually defeated that would have limited law enforcement agencies from using critical tools necessary to stopping and solving crime. For example, AB 93, a bill that banned the practice of consensual searches, which is a tool that law enforcement has used frequently to uncover critical evidence that has led to breaks in unsolved cases and brought criminals to justice. I mean, seriously, we are trying to tell people that they can't consent? Pretty extreme, folks. AB 742, a bill that substantially reduced the ability for law enforcement to utilize police canines during suspect pursuits. Police canines are one of the best de-escalation methods available. And 90% of the time, deployments of these dogs, suspect surrenders prior to a bite. I'm telling you, I have seen suspects that are extremely dangerous and violent. They're more afraid of those canines than they are a handgun. And I will tell you that they're very, very effective. And so we're trying to do things that will increase more violence. And it's a tool that's a de-escalation tool, and thank heavens we stopped that ridiculous proposal. It's not dead, it's just dead now. It will come back, I promise. I'm also proud to have authored a number of bills in the session, including AB 56, which will expand the eligibility for victims of serious violent crimes to receive compensation for the enduring emotional trauma they may face. And then also, AB 1435 is near and dear to my soul because it will adjust the maximum age requirement for the California Highway Patrol to age 40. A lot going on, folks. A lot of things happening in this world. I can't tell you that I couldn't be more proud. I can't even fathom the fact that I'm actually where I'm at, and I've been here for such a long period of time. In every one of my elections, I was the underdog, and I don't know how I've survived, but it's the fact that you surround yourself with good people, good things happen. And I'm very, very fortunate, and I'm very proud to represent this area. And common sense is under assault. It really is. And I'm a very person who respects disagreement. And I think that's one of the great things about our country. You have the right to be wrong. But nonetheless, we got to quit hating disagreement. We got to quit hating people because of the fact that they have a differing opinion. Even on the Public Safety Committee, which I have very strong feelings about, that you just heard, I don't hate those people. I don't hate them at all. But what I do hate is their misguided perspective. And that's, you don't convince people through hate or through insults. That does not work. I've never seen it work in my entire life, and I'm not a young man. So let's be smart. Let's be smart on how we message and how we embrace differences of opinion, because it's what's really lacking in our culture right now. And this vilifying, even though I use some pretty strong language there, but I don't hate people that have a differing view, but I do want to change their heart. And the way you do that is not by being nasty. And so I thank you for this privilege and for having a chance to talk to you. That's all I got. Yes, Commissioner Brown.
Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for your service. There's a cognitive dissonance. You started out with the fact that the public is very much in favor of public safety.
That's correct.
But we have a legislature which seems to...
Oh, Dr. Brown, could you turn your microphone on?
Oh, my
Oh.
apologies. happy.
There
to
you
do
go.
it. I'm sorry, I don't know how much of that you heard or didn't hear.
I heard it all.
So the public, which seems to be in favor of public safety, doesn't seem to be electing a legislature that supports their belief. That's a cognitive dissonance.
I totally agree with you, and unfortunately, there's allies in that communication path, right? And there's the influencers that are in the state legislature have a lot of power, and it has to do with the power structure, in all honesty. And I think that there's hope because we saw what happened with SB 14. All the stars kind of aligned on that particular front. Because I could tell you that even though that was a very egregious example of poor judgment, we've done worse. Some of these other pieces, I mean, we couldn't even garner support for enhancing penalties for those who rape people that have developmental disabilities. What in the world is that? I mean, that's how crazy this feeling is. And I think we can change the tide, but we just need to keep the pressure on. And the way we keep the pressure on is as important as our perspective. And that's why I made the plea at the very end. Let's not be mean and hateful and insulting of those who share a different point of view. Let's just be compelling through a different pathway.
Mr. Lackey, I've got a very simple question.
Okay.
I mean, with all these bills that are passing that actually make no sense to most of us sitting here, when you talk to your associates that agree with these bills, what is their logic behind it? I mean, I know that's a broad question, but I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm saying, how could you possibly vote for this bill? What is their logic?
They think that offenders are pretty much misunderstood and have had an unfair pathway. And so they feel like that offenders need some advocacy. And that's their role, is to try to advocate, because their goal, and it's all of our goal, to rehabilitate individuals. We do believe in that, and they're quick to forgive. But what they forget is the victim is part of this equation, and having a balanced perspective and thinking of victims as well as the offender is where the imbalance takes place, in my observation. And so I'm there to remind them that in this consideration, or in all these considerations, victims deserve to be part of that equation. But yet, I have not been successful in that. But I'm going to keep pushing it. Sometimes it takes a long time before you have an impact. But you'll never see me insulting people, because I don't think that works.
I have a question for you in regards to SB 14, which just blows my mind that did not pass.
Mine too.
I just cannot believe that. Have you found that with the success of Sound of Freedom and that it's getting out there more, that people might be changing their minds?
Sound of Freedom was clearly one of those stars that I told you that aligned to make this happen. It was certainly put this topic front and center where it deserves to be. And I do think it was an influence towards good and good thinking. Good. So all the influences, but you see that if you've seen that movie, it doesn't insult people with a different opinion. It just lays facts out in a very, very direct way, and it shows the heroic efforts of victims. And that's what needs to be championed.
Well, thank you so much for coming here, and thank you so much for putting up the fight. Public
Very
safety
proud to
is
do it.
very important, and we appreciate that.
Very honored to do it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for what you guys do
Thank
and
you.
for being an influence towards balanced policymaking. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay, moving forward, consent calendar, which includes one item, approval of minutes, July 12th, 2023. Is there any objection to adopting or to approving the consent calendar as presented? Are there any abstentions?
I wasn't at the last meeting.
Oh, okay.
Neither was I.
Oh, okay. Vice Chair Little and Commissioner Harris abstained. Without that, consent calendar is approved. Reports, LA County Sheriff's Department.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Deputy Lawrence Green. I am your Community Relations Deputy for Lancaster Sheriff Station. My primary role is to interact with the community in a positive manner, to answer any questions in a non-emergent situation. Today, we are in attendance. I have my acting captain, Lieutenant Bartlett. I have Lieutenant Gooseberry here with me. as well as 2 new members to my detail, Sergeant Shane Chapman, sitting right here, and Kit Groupie in the back, have been added to my detail to help with community engagement. Today we'll be going over our comp stats for the city of Lancaster. The month of June is what we're going to be working with today. Obviously, the new method has been prioritized and itemized, so we can get through this a little bit quicker. For the month of June, you have a 5-year and a 1-year comparison. Criminal homicides in the year of 2023, year to date, we have a 325% change. Obviously, it has skyrocketed. We are fairly high in homicides, and we're only halfway through the year. As we go down to forcible rape.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yes.
Before we move on? Is there any sense whether that is, I mean, are those where victim knows the suspect, or they're gang-related or drug-related?
It does not break it down in that format. This is straight criminal, not accidental or anything like that. As far as a breakdown for criminal versus domestic related or anything like that, you're not going to get that type of detail in this type of report, and it has to finalize as well. So when they go through court and all of that, and to see what that particular charge is, that stat code at the end of the charge of the what is called a C line, where it shows the crime, it breaks it down whether or not it's domestic related, gang related, things of that nature. And as you know, when you go to court, sometimes they don't want to do gang enhancements, or they don't exist at all at this point in time, and that stat will never be added to the list. So we keep it generic as possible, just to show you that this is a crime that occurred, criminal involvement, and which constitutes a homicide. What type, it does not specify.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Any other questions before I move on?
I can interject a little bit on that.
Yes.
So out of the murders so far year to date, 14 of them are deemed to be involved in some sort of gang relation. That's pursuant to our Operation Safe
Can you check if your mic's on? Just want to make sure it's recorded for the,
Should turn red, LT. No? You can, is this one right here, LT? Oh, okay.
So I spoke this morning to our Operations Safe Street Bureau, and out of the murders so far year to date, 14 of them have been deemed to be involved or have some involvement with gang relation. And out of those murders so far year to date, all but one have been solved, or either the suspect has been named or identified. So just a little bit of information. So.
thank you.
Any additional questions before I move on? No? Okay. Forcible rape, we're in the green, which is good. We're down 8% for the year to date and change. What I'm looking at is that far right column, just so you are aware. I like to do the year to date versus the 5-year and change, but as you can see, there's also a 5-year comparison. But I'll be using that right column for your reference. Robbery, we are also down 12.43% year to date. You got the unincorporated area and the city of Lancaster. The city itself is at 12.43% down, which is good. As we go down to aggravated assault for the next line within the city, we're down 12% as well, down 9% in the unincorporated areas. We'll move down to burglary. Burglary is slightly up 5% in the city. In the unincorporated area, we're at a 42% increase in burglaries. Your station total will be at 11.69%. Larceny and thefts have gone down. In summertime, usually that's not the case, so that's actually a good thing. We're at 12.18% in the city of Lancaster for larceny thefts. Unincorporated areas, we're down 32%. Grand theft auto, I'm going to go a little further into. Grand theft auto has gone up 19.44%. In the unincorporated areas, it's up 58%. Now, our auto theft team, I'm going to be working with to do another catalytic converter event because the catalytic converter thefts are still going. They're still prevalent. So we're working hopefully with Chevy or somebody of that nature that has bays where we can get a larger number of vehicles in and out to get those catalytic converters etched and engraved. So that will be coming along the lines. I talked with the trap team to get more clubs. I just dealt with a stolen or attempted stolen Kia. I got there and it was a vehicle burglary, and then the whole ignition was ripped off. So it looks like they were trying to steal that Kia of that particular year. I talked with Trap and they said they're going to get us more clubs. I highly advise whoever's listening in on this to attach a club to your car. Believe it or not, it's old school, but it works. And it's just a great deterrent. I get clubs in regularly at the station. I have people call in to me to make sure that they're there so I can provide them free of charge. So the clubs are awesome, and they're, as you know, easy to put on and easy to take off. So please, if you have a Kia or a Hyundai within a particular year, you can call the station and talk to the stolen vehicle team, and they will tell you what year you need to be aware of and what should have the club and what shouldn't. From what I'm being told, Kia and Hyundai are doing a retroactive repair electronically for the ones where you can actually start the vehicles via USB. So there's a patch for it, but you have to be under warranty in order to receive that. So just be aware that you may or may not, if you have that Honda or Kia, be able to get it repaired at the dealership.
Do you happen to know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
There is any other way? Oh, there we go. There is any other way to communicate with the station regards to getting club besides the phone call?
Well, we usually, I'll have my public information officer that deals with social media posted online.
I see.
So, but at the end of the day, you're going to end up calling. It's the best way to do it because I don't want anyone to waste their time coming in and we don't have any. I only get about 25 at a time, so they go quick. There's a lot of Kias and Hyundais out there within that particular year that I hand these out like hotcakes. So depending on how quick the team can get them to the station, because they come from down below, is how fast I can actually dish them out.
Question.
Thank you.
I'm looking in the burglary and auto up substantially in unincorporated areas. Is there a reason for that you can think of?
Well, the unincorporated areas are very desolate, I guess you can say. They have huge property lines. There's no camera systems out there. So the need for burglaries and burglaries of that nature, no one's watching them. The people that live out in Antelope Acres, the people that live in the areas where there's large land, they don't have enough cameras to cover that large area. So the burglar, and they have a lot of expensive equipment, whether they run a farm, whether they run, a tractor or whatever that situation is, they have a lot of expensive equipment when no one's watching. So it's going to go, you're going to get a lot of more activity there versus in a dense area where now the city has implemented camera systems everywhere. So you're kind of scaring them away. The city's actually defeated that by making sure that you're on camera and you're being watched all the time. So where are you going to go? I'm going to go to the unincorporated area where there's large areas no one's watching to conduct my criminal activity.
Are there any plans to get the cameras out to those areas?
I don't have anything that I know of. LT, do you know of anything going on as far as the unincorporated areas? I worked with Lake LA. Kit, as far as like us getting like the flock system out there in unincorporated areas, I know we talked about it shortly, but I don't have any particular updates. Do you know, or are you aware of anything going on?
As of right now, there's no talks in unincorporated areas. I believe the flock system is funded by the city of Lancaster through public safety, and I don't think there's a nexus, but it would come from probably a different funding pot, and I don't want to speak on behalf of the county or the Board of Supervisors, but I believe the flock camera system would have to be a separate funding. I don't see, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Rod, but I don't see why the city of Lancaster would be funding something in an unincorporated area.
Yeah, we would not fund it. Obviously, we're going to put everything we have in the city, but we are preparing now. I just spoke with the rep we're getting ready to do a presentation for all the local businesses as well, or whoever will come, as well as the large complexes, because they offer their services to those businesses. You know, anyone can purchase a camera. In fact, we got a couple businesses that are saying, yeah, we want cameras. So we can talk and see if there's a way maybe we can include whatever county entities, the supervisor's office, and see if it's something they want to consider after seeing that presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the stats that Rod will have will just prove without a doubt that it's effective. And hopefully it'll get the board to get it to get in on this whole thing.
Yeah,
Because
no,
it is truly is helping.
Yeah, it makes sense. If it's helping here and we're seeing an increase in those areas, somehow it affects you guys as well if we're having to make those calls, that maybe we can help and
Absolutely.
get the
We're
word
as
out
a
and see
team,
what we
you
can
know.
do to get
Yeah,
those.
we'll reach out to the supervisor's office, in fact, and ask them to let us personally give their office a presentation if they like.
So
Perfect.
would property owners, Rod, be able to, in outlying unincorporated areas, be able to get these cameras then?
Yes, in fact, anyone can get it. And the city's actually working on a program now to increase our neighborhood watch programs where we're going to give particular programs. And don't quote me on it, I don't have all
No.
the facts right now, but we're working on a program where we want to increase neighborhood watch programs, larger ones, and we're going to provide a camera. And I'm not sure if that's going to be a city or a flock camera, I can't recall, Chris. But that's something that we're working on now to increase cameras within our own city, so.
I have been working with the unincorporated areas for Neighborhood Watch, and I've been incorporating the city to help at least feed some information to the unincorporated areas, because the neighborhood watches in the unincorporated areas are blended. There's portions that are city and there's portions that are county, but it doesn't change the fact that we need to gather this information collectively together so that way we're all on the same page. I'm hoping one day, once this presentation goes through with the county, that they'll all be up to date on the same page and we can just start to implement it out further. Any questions so far? Okay, we're going to continue. Your Grand Theft Autos for the year. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
My question was
Oh, okay.
that as of right now, because when we talk about the unincorporated area, Coachella is one of those areas.
Yes.
Do we have a flock system over there, cameras?
That would be, no.
No, I don't think so. I know we haven't put any
I
in
see.
Quartz Hill. And if it's unincorporated, we have definitely not put anything over there. But like I said, we're open to working with them. In fact, I just learned that Palmdale just approved to buy 50 cameras. They saw what we were doing and was a success we were having and reached out, and we connected them with Flock. And I think their council, I think they just signed off on that. So the more the merrier. That's how it worked down south. One city would get it, the next city had to get it because everything was coming into their area, so.
And maybe get into the county or something?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so Grand Theft Auto, year-to-date, we're up 19.44%. An unincorporated area is 58.06%. Social station total, we're at 25.51%. Arson has gone down. It is summertime, so people are out, the homeless are out in the areas, still cooking and things of that nature, whatever tools they use out in the fields. So arson right now, we don't really have an issue with at this time, 33.33%. We're down. Unincorporated area, down 18%. So overall, we're going to be down. Your Part 1 crime totals, 2.21%. We are all going to be down in the city of Lancaster. In the unincorporated areas, obviously, we're going to be slightly up, 9.78%. This will conclude pretty much my my presentation for today. Here's your bar graph, your previous 12 months and current 12 months. Difference. This from July 2021 to June 2023. As you can see, everything is, it's slightly down, or actually it's down quite a bit. July and August have a huge difference in comparison. The rest are, and June as well. The rest are very similar. I can't really decipher the huge gap in between. But as you can see, we're in the month of August. So there's a huge difference, and it's actually gone down as well. Looks like 656 for the month of August versus 439 for the current 12 months. Any questions? There's your hot spots for the month of June. It's very dense around 20th Street West, and it looks like Avenue J. That is a business district. And as well as in the dead center, you see that 1122 is dead center just north of Avenue J. It's going to be dense in that area as well. Very high crime activity. You can look at crimestoppers.com and get a hotspot map as well if you guys want to see it on your own computer and zoom in a little bit farther to see where these all these incidences are taking place. Shoplifting is still prevalent. As I stated before, all of the each individual retail store has its own policies and procedures on whether to go hands-on or whether to let it go. And Walmart, particularly Walmart, just had a new feature where they don't want to go hands-on at all. So you're going to see that go up. You're going to see retail theft go up due to them not being wanting to be sued. It's just, that's the way it is. We still will respond. If we get a shoplifting call, we will still make the arrest. We will still take them to jail, and we will still process. What happens at the DA's office at that point in time is out of Lancaster Station's hands. But we will make the arrest, and we will continue to do our job. Any
Deputy,
questions?
you mentioned 20th and J. Is that west side right there?
That is the west side,
Okay,
yeah.
is that incorporating the power center over there too? Or is that just at 20th
That
and J?
looks like right about a Valley Central Way.
Okay.
That if you want to be a little bit more
Right.
accurate, yeah. So
I
it's
do.
going to be about Valley Central Way area, and then that middle hot spot north of J, dead center of
Right.
10th Street West. That has a bunch of little mom and pop places like the Dollar Tree and in areas over there. Cliff's Liquor is very prevalent with a lot of crime activity. So, a lot of focus has been on that area as well. Any questions?
You may mention the fact on the theft, you'll make the arrest, but how long before they're released after you make the arrest at the station?
Depending on how severe it is, I mean, we can put holds on certain types of crime, but misdemeanor crimes are usually a 4-hour release window with a citation. So if it's shoplifting or something of that nature, it'll be a citation and they get released 4 hours later.
And how many times can they repeat this act before it changes?
Unlimited until they decide to do a stackable type deal. I don't know if that is ever going to happen, but I know there's talks about of things of that nature as far as stacking the shoplifting crimes that are occurring.
And when you say stacking, I'm
Meaning
sorry.
like multiple offenses and then making it to where now the crime has increased and is habitual and something needs to be done about it. It's kind of like, how do I explain, LT? When you have, you commit the same misdemeanor crime over and over again, and now your total of theft has gone up from 200 to 2,000. So once it exceeds a certain dollar amount, it goes from misdemeanor to felony. Now, if they're going to do that, I don't know, but that would probably be a good option to have to show habitual shoplifters that are not technically getting punished for the crime that they're doing, and showing that their history, something needs to be done. If that's possible, if we can put a bill together for that, that would be fantastic.
Deputy Green, they're being ticketed, correct?
They are. They're being
Okay,
cited. Yes.
So when they get cited, how many of those individuals are either coming forth paying restitution, or it just goes by the wayside?
Well, once I make the arrest and they go to court, and I get the conviction or whatever that may be, I'm not there for the restitution hearing.
Okay.
I don't know what they're going to do as far as, making sure restitution is paid. I just know that restitution in general is rarely ever paid because the person that's committing the crime has no job, has no ability to pay restitution. So it's never seen.
So the percentage of people showing up, or they're showing up for court?
Yeah, I don't see why they would not show up, because at this point in time, the punishment
Is minimal.
is minimal, so they're not scared to go into court and show up, knowing that they're going to get probation or something of that nature.
You mentioned 2,000 as an example. What is the threshold?
So when it comes to like grand theft, anything over $950 becomes a felony. So under $950 is a misdemeanor. A lot of suspects know that, and they tend to limit what they take, so that way they can do it again and again and again. But if you were to stack this and it adds up over that $950 and utilize that as a tool to create the felony, then that would be a severe punishment. Maybe make them think twice about shoplifting again.
Can I ask you a question in regards to our homeless? At times, there's been vandalism, there's been this and that by that community. What happens on that particular case? That damage has been done to a property owner, and where is the citation given? What's given to, and how is that being handled at this point in time?
So when it comes to the homeless, we have the ability to notate on their paperwork, on their booking slip, that, hey, we can't just release this person because they're homeless. We have to make sure they get to court. So with my lieutenant, when I work with him, I say, hey, LT, this person's homeless. I don't think we should be able to release them immediately because we're never going to find them again. So he'll put a hold based off of the living situation, so that way they can go to court and everything can be established without having a gap in the...
Is it expedited for you instead of sitting there housing? I'm just trying to say, is that individual going to court within a day, 2 days? or-
Well, the turnover is 2 days, LT?
2 days?
Right? Yeah, 2 days. So we have the ability to say, hey, I need to put a hold just due to the fact that this person may not even show up to court because they're homeless. We have no way of tracking them down or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
So we can put the hold on and we can get them to court. What happens at the court?
Yes.
That'll be up to the judge.
Thank you, sir.
Real quick question regards to shoplifting that relate to the retail store, right? But there is a lot of diners. I've been talking to a lot of diner owners. They've been suffering from dining and dash.
Yes.
Most of them is related to homeless problem. They are the one who causing it, you know? They got all the rights already when they come, you know? So that dining and dash, it landed on the same category as a shoplifting. How you guys handle it when we call for the, you know? report?
That theft by false pretenses, I guess you can say. The thing is when it comes to dining and dash, I have seen it where some restaurants punish the actual server, and that's not fair. The server can't keep track of 50 people at once.
Correct.
And I know they're responsible for their table, but punishing the server for allowing that person to get up and leave without paying is not fair. And I've seen that. I've seen that with my own eyes.
Yeah, I've seen that too, and
Yeah.
it's gonna create a problem.
So,
in the
yeah,
future.
we don't get calls for dining and dashing because they're punishing their own employees. That's not fair.
I'd like to ask a question about the letter of agency.
Yes.
Are we able to email those in? Do we have to hand deliver them to the sheriff's station? Because as a property management company, at any given time, I can have 15 vacancies.
I've
And-
seen the letter of agencies be faxed over with the cop picture of the ID. So
Okay.
I've seen that, yeah.
We
So
can-
that is a thing, yes, absolutely.
I just wanted to clarify for the record that we're not, so in the process of the arrest, the arresting deputy would come to the watch commander to run that arrest by if they want the person held. And they would have to articulate specific reasons to why that person is held. Merely being homeless is not a reason for holding somebody. It would have to meet specific guidelines pursuant to state law that whether it's a crime that would be likely to continue, and there's other factors that they would weigh in, that a watch commander could put a hold on a person, basically where they would be taken to court within the 48 hours.
Thank you, LT. I apologize for not clarifying.
Could I get that fax number?
I do not have it on hand, Commissioner Harris,
I'll
but
get
I
it
will
later.
get it for you, I promise, yes.
No worries. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, that'll be the end of my presentation. there's your crime definitions if you have any questions on what constitutes as each one of those individual crimes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Moving forward, LEAPS program. No LEAPS? Okay. Probation.
Good morning. First of all, we can start. I want to say thank you, and I really appreciate the support you give us. National Night Out, we had quite a few of our deputies come out and assist, and it's good to see Assemblyman Lackey stop by and shared some time with us. And under the circumstances of our department at the moment, where things are kind of a little awkward, kind of piggybacking on the crime situation, where the criminal seems to be getting more positive attention than the actual victim. Seems a little unfair from where I stand. And I'm sure many of you in this room agree. National Night was a success. We talked about our mobile unit. We got to share it with the public here, the community of Lancaster on the Boulevard. Great response. People were not aware of what we do, what we're currently doing, what we're trying to do, and being proactive. And, it's simple. The more we see them, the more they interact with us, the people that we service, the better chance they have of staying away from that avenue of crime. So it was really good. Now on the other side of the coin, it seems like the criminals are winning in our department. We have lost the ability to use our mobile unit for the next 4 weeks, based on the fact that we're deploying 80% of our staff. 80% of the people in our office are being sent to juvenile hall to assist with the shortages of staff right now. So just today, 80% of the people that are deputies that work in my office are not there. So I have to kind of bounce back and forth if I can to assist in some things that I normally wouldn't have to do, but with the lack of deputies in the office. And that's affected every division. We have a juvenile office over off of Division as well, on the north side of K. Ours is on the south side of K4, and then we have the adult probation office over at the courthouse. Every single division of that is going to down to the juvenile hall in Somar on a regular basis, so basically every other day to assist. Now, Somar isn't as bad as Los Padrinos is in Downey when they moved everybody down there, but every office, every department in probation is sending every field deputy that they can to assist in making sure that we have enough people to be there. So obviously affecting everyone. So the new interim chief has explained, or ordered, I should say, and it's really kind of beating down a lot of our officers over the years. It's just not a good thing. And again, the community suffers, and that's our biggest issue. The deputies that work in the field offices, especially up in this area, we live here. This is our community. We interact with everyone here in our community like most of you do, if not all of you. So it's a personal thing when we service this community. And so us being taken out of those places and the ability to work in the public is disturbing to each individual PO. So we'll be decreasing that to one time a month. For the next 2 to 3 months. We'll be once in Lancaster, then once in the East Palmdale, Little Rock area. And then again, anytime we stop using our resources, we lose momentum. We also lose the opportunity the trust of them to come out and not knowing if we're going to be there on a regular basis. So it's a trickle-down effect, a domino effect that affects everything. And then on the flip side, we have increases in cases. Our cases have increased because of the loss of probation officers in the area offices. Ours is really detrimental because we do, as AB 109, we service and we interact with probably the most dangerous probationers probably in the country, just with their criminal history and things of that nature. They respond well to us, it seems like, when we have that chance to interact with them on a regular basis. But again, now that we're gonna be losing some of that time frame and not able to be out in the field as often. So an example of that is if we have someone who has a higher risk score because they have a longer criminal history that may require more interaction with their probation officer, instead of seeing them 2 or 3 times a month, maybe once in the office, twice in the residence, or once in the residence, twice in the office, and however, or one in the arm at the mobile unit, we're gonna be down to 1. Again, and that puts the community at risk because we are gaining some type of rapport with them, and it seems to be working in the big picture. Sure, we're gonna have our situation where someone's gonna do something that's unfortunately heinous at times. We know that risk. These are state laws that we try to follow in penal code. But I think our interaction has proven that we've done a pretty darn good job of it overall. It's not gonna make everybody happy, but we do the best we can. And then we're gonna have a less of an opportunity to do that. So needless to say, we're a little bothered by it, or maybe a lot more bothered than we're exposing, because we don't understand, and I've been doing this for 35 years, so I don't understand why so much effort is in keeping the juvenile halls at my level and losing the efforts we have to serve the community that we have always promised to do. And for the most part, have done a good job. So it's a little confusing at our level, so I can imagine how confusing it is to you guys when I share this stuff with you. But I'm trying to be as transparent as I can with all of you.
Boy, I gotta hand it to you. Is this division cutbacks? Is it cutbacks? Is it funding? Is it
It's hard to-
or not hiring more personnel? Or
I think Assembly Lackey made it clear that the victims are no longer considered a thing of concern. He also mentioned something to the fact that, you know, the powers that be, the decision makers politically, think that these 17 and 18-year-old, 20, the average age, I think, in juvenile hall at Selmar is 22. That's unheard of. These are grown men, 25, 26, because they're, people have been convinced that make this decision from the governor on down that they are not able to make good decisions at a young age and that they're not developed to understand consequences until they're 25, 26. And I think I may have mentioned that last month. I was in a building a couple months ago where all of them were murder suspects waiting for dispositions in court. 6 shootings, 1 stabbing with 7 kids, all mental health issues, all gang members. And these kids are doing whatever they want. And their average age was probably 21. They're doing whatever they want. They're not getting sentenced anymore as juveniles or adults. They're getting sentenced as children, and they're not. This is not a 12-year-old kid that broke your window or stole your kid's bike.
you mentioned the trickle-down effect on the cases that you have in your offices, and your agents are going, or having to go someplace else. I'm assuming the people that you're seeing are used to a routine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that routine, like you said, is being broken. So that kind of messes them up a little bit too, doesn't it? They're used to seeing or having to report to you at a certain time and place.
Right. Well, I'll take it one step further just to kind of maybe educate you real quickly. Most offices have an officer of the day. So in other words, if Mr. Brown's the PO of record and Ms. McCracken, and he's out doing something for the department because they sent him down to work in custody, and McCracken sees his client, she has no idea what they've been through.
Right.
She has no idea about that rapport they've established. And say she's not the friendliest person, and because they haven't established that. So now this person that's reporting is saying, why do I want to talk to her? She's not helping me as much as Mr. Brown has helped me for the last 6 months.
Right.
You know, we're on the same wave. He understands me. He gets me. And now she's just cut and dry saying, you know, I'm not your person to see every week, so I'm just going to give you the bare minimums, the bam, bam. It's not intentional. It's just how it's perceived. And so it's a struggle. And so we lose people. Again, you know, we have people that we introduced this mobile unit to, and they come out and they like it. They feel less stressed. They feel like they can interact and do things in the community. There's people there to help. Even on the boulevard the other night, we had Health Right 360. They're passing out, you know, hygienic things for bags for the people that came up and asked for them. and it's helpful. And we're losing a lot of that stuff based on the fact that we're trying to save juvenile halls, and people just don't want to come to work anymore. It's dangerous. So in the last 3 months, we had, and I think the public isn't being told, and I think that's part of our frustration as deputies. We had a kid die at an overdose of fentanyl at Mary J. in Selmar. This is in the last 4 months. We had a gun, a loaded firearm found at Los Padrinos a couple weeks ago, which is all over the news. And then we had a riot where 3 agencies, our agency, Downey agency, Downey PD, and then LASD had to come and help support, all within the last 3 months. These are 20, 22-year-old men that are thinking they're in prison trying to become tough guys instead of being on the varsity team at real prison where they're going to just learn the routine. They are now the older, and they have this concept of how they're going to do things, and they want to run it like prison. And it's very difficult for a lot of us that have been around for a long time to understand the lack of discipline, the lack of program, and we are an old department. Most of the people that we're sending there are 45, 50 years old. And it's everybody and anybody's being sent regardless of your title from the top to the bottom. So it's a struggle. And again, and I think our deputies are like, we just want to do our job. And we worked in custody very young in our careers. We did it. It was our entry-level position. It's in the rearview window of our career. I've earned the right to be here in the community. I'm established. And that's what I mean by an older generation appeal. We're established here. And now we're being taken back, and we're going backwards in our career, you know, and I think that's the frustrating part. So there's a lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, my concern as a supervisor, my deputies' concerns, are we really able to serve the communities that we not only live in, but that we've taken that oath to do so? And that's disturbing to us as individuals, that we can't do that as efficiently as we have and as willingly as we want to. So it's just a mess, and you know the public needs to know that because they're only hearing one side of it, and so that's why it's so beneficial for us to go out in the community like we did the other night in Palmdale a month or so ago, to let them know that we're not the negative environment that they see on TV about the things I just mentioned earlier. That they're faces, they're people, and they're trying to do the right thing. And we get a lot of compliments, and it's refreshing to hear that because we're not seeing that or hearing that in the current climate of the attempt to minimize criminal behavior. Like I said, $9.50 to go into a Target store or Walmart, and you know you can grab an 85-inch TV for $7.99 and walk out of it. And some people are being told they're loss prevention. Don't touch them. Don't even say a word to them. Just let it go. And then the consumer is paying for it, and we see it every day in our receipts. So, but that's where we're at, and it's a very sad day, we feel like, but hopefully we can see a light at the end of the tunnel. But again, without your support, it's very difficult to even feel part of the law enforcement community right now because, I'm sure that all deputies that are sitting here at every rank are feeling the same pain of nothing's going to happen to them. They'll get home before you do. And that's frustrating.
Yes, very much.
Extremely.
Appreciate everything you do.
Oh, thank you. Any questions? Anything else?
Any questions?
Thanks.
Moving along, Highway Patrol.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Farrell. I'm the administrative sergeant over at the Antelope Valley CHP office. This is my first time over here talking with you guys, so I want to say thank you. I've been here at the Antelope Valley area for 16 years, and I just took over this position back in May. So with the California Highway Patrol, just in general, we have a new commissioner, and we also have a new captain here at the Antelope Valley office. So since January 1st, we've had a very big push as far as being proactive in the community, trying to have our guys get out of the office, get out on the road, drive around, try and show our presence as much as possible. We're extremely short-staffed, and we're trying our best to show our face in the community. And with our statistics, I think it does show that effort, the department-wide effort, as well as the effort with here in the Antelope Valley community is paying off. So With arrests, this is for June and July of this current year. With arrests, we had 184 arrests compared to 169 of last year, which is an increase of 8%. For citations, almost 2,000 citations were issued over the last 2 months. In the previous period, or previous time period, that's an increase of 12%. With DUI arrests, we had 140 DUI arrests over the last 2 months. That's an increase of 10% over the last period. And what's important here is the driving under the influence collisions, where DUI was the factor in the collision. We are down 35%. So it shows that effective, that proactive enforcement is actually reducing those, collisions that occurred by driving under the influence, which is exactly what we're trying to do while we're out there making those DUI arrests. Fatal traffic collisions, another thing that we're very proud about. In this current period, we only had 1. In the previous period, we had 5, decrease of 80%. Total collisions, we had 265 during this period, which is a decrease of 6% during the same period. If all the public thinks we're just going out there writing a ton of citations, our verbal warnings, as far as for giving people warnings for traffic violations, is up 28%. So we're actually giving more verbal warnings than in the previous period as well. We have a strong sergeant's office that's really encouraging officers to get out there and try and make that difference and have that proactive enforcement. Since January, our new captain, Captain Zagorski, was in charge of the street racing and sideshow for all the Southern Division. We've implemented that up here in the Antelope Valley area as well. We don't see it maybe on the social media, on the news like we do down in LA, but there is a street racing and sideshow events going on here in the Antelope Valley. They're happening in more desolate areas or in business areas, but they are happening. So we've done quite a few details over the last few months where we specifically try to actively engage and close down those sideshows. And the one I was a part of, we went to 4 different sideshows where they had shut down the entire intersection and they were doing donuts with people standing all around. So this is occurring in the Antelope Valley. We're actually doing a street racing class where all the officers are going to get trained on how to deal with street racing. That's occurring in September. We're offering that post-certified class to the sheriff's deputies at the Palmdale and the Lancaster Sheriff's Department so they can be a part of it and be street racer and sideshow certified. And I just secured us another 200 hours of grant hours to specifically deploy here in the Antelope Valley for sideshows, street shows, and also highway violences. So as far as our numbers go, I'm extremely proud of our office and our command staff that we have here at the Antelope Valley office. I believe that the positive, proactive enforcing that we're doing is making a difference, and we're hoping to continue this on through the rest of the year. Is there any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, I just have a quick one. You said you were short-staffed. How many people are you down with your department?
So currently right now in the field, the Antelope Valley, we're the smallest CHP office in all LA County. We only have 32 officers on the road. And we cover Palmdale, Lancaster, Little Rock, Lake LA, Acton, all the way up to Mountain High. So these guys are, the officers that are working the beat on a daily basis deserve all the credit. They are going out there with 2-3 people a shift and going call to call and handling everything that they can in between. We are supposed to have, I believe, 50 total officers. So that's 32 on the road. We have 6 officers that I oversee that help with the administrative side of the job. They're also our SSP officer who deal with the DMV. We get a lot of calls at the DMV as well, which is inside the city of Lancaster, with people trying to register stolen vehicles, or they didn't take the vehicle out, or disturbances with the DMV. And we have an officer that's assigned to the state facilities within the city as well.
This shortage of officers you talk about, is that throughout the state, or is your actual office hurt more than others?
I believe that it hurts us. It's throughout the state, first of all. Throughout the state, we are doing better with recruitment as a department, but we definitely have some more improvement to do. We have 3 classes going at the CHP Academy, and currently at the Antelope Valley office, we have 2 brand-new officers who are on their first phase of training, who just graduated last month. But it's a recruitment issue in all law enforcement right now. It's very difficult for us to recruit. It's very difficult for the people that we are getting, they definitely want to be police officers, and they definitely want to make a difference, because a lot of their friends and family do not support it, whether they don't agree with our mission or whether they fear for their safety. And it's hard to get recruits. So we are also heavily involved with recruitment. My public information officer, Officer Michaud, she's always at all the events. We are trying to establish our Explorer program to make it bigger than to make it larger. And one of our explorers actually is at the academy now and is going to be doing his CHP testing on Sunday as part of his Explorer program. But I believe that the shortage affects our office the most, because when we lose, if we're supposed to be a staff of 40 and we lose 4 people, it's not just 4 people, it's 10%. And it hurts us more than it does other areas that are down the same amount of people. We're having to stretch and do more. I have many of my special duty staff who are assigned administrative duties that are having to cover and work the road and cover a beat because of the shortage.
You made some, you cover as far as Acton, nothing south of Acton.
We go down to Red Rover Mine. That's where our
Okay.
cutoff is. That's where the Newhall office picks up.
Right.
And then we go to the east. We go to 263rd East, which is the county cutoff. We go up to Avenue A. We have a portion of Mountain High, Angeles Forest Highway, portion of Angeles Crest, Bouquet, San Francisco. It's the largest area in LA County, and we're the smallest office in LA County. So we are doing our best, and I believe our stats speak for themselves. Our guys are out there working, and the fact that we have DUI collisions down 34% during the same time period, it shows that that proactive enforcement works.
The largest area and the smallest office.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Well, we can't thank you enough.
Thank you very much.
We see what you're doing out there, and we commend you, so we can't thank you enough for what you do, so we really appreciate it, so.
Thank you.
Tough road miles out there,
Yeah.
so,
Yes, sir.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rod?
All right, good morning. It's good to see all of you. Quite a bit going on. I want to share some good stuff with you. We are about to move into the area of having the Lancaster Police Department. I've been told I'm going to be sworn in as your chief next month. Last night, the council kind of solidified that by giving me the money I need to buy my police officers, my forthcoming police officers, their police vehicles. So we're extremely excited, and I think I don't have to tell anybody this is historic, and what's planned I think is going to be extremely good for our city and for our community. And I applaud this council, this commission, the people of this city for always putting safety first, public safety first, and that's what this is about. This is about bringing another entity that can work alongside our brothers and sisters that are already doing it and aid them in the efforts to make our city as safe as possible. So it's going to be a really good thing, and we're going to obviously want all of you to be a part of this. This swearing in, I'm hoping that I can get you all to attend because we are partners, and I'd love to have representation from all our partners there when that does happen. I want everyone to understand absolutely that this is not about eliminating our existing resources, our brothers and sisters from the Sheriff's Department. This is about adding another entity and that can work alongside them and that can work towards doing some things that are needed. I've 32 years with LA sheriffs worked what back then, Rodney King era and others were probably they were identified as the toughest areas in all of LA County. And it was a lot of work and it was a lot we had to do down there. But I'm amazed by the men and women at this station. They work harder than anybody I've seen. So I'm excited about being a part of making them, giving them the help they need. So let's see. So some of the things that have been going on, we're giving the CHP access to our cameras. Talked with Captain Joe Zagurski, and he talked about his investigators and how them being able to have access to our city cameras would help. And we said, boom, we're doing it. So we're going to get them access, the officers that he chooses and his investigators access to city cameras, and that should help them when they're dealing with investigating crimes. I want you to know the partnerships with all the entities that provide public safety are incredible, and I think they've grown and they've gotten better over the past year. I know public safety is working very closely with all the entities that work out here and provide safety. It's incredible the way we're growing and we're doing things together. CHP has even invited us, and we're not a police department yet, to join in this training that they're offering because they realize there could be some benefit to our people from learning about it, as well as improving that camaraderie and working together as best we can. Some other things that are going on are LETs, our law enforcement technicians that have been training with the Sheriff's Department to take the reports. I recently talked with Lieutenant Bartlett, and the department feels that these folks are pretty much ready to go out on their own, and this is what we've been working towards, so that they can go out and free up the deputies and take some of these reports and give the deputies time to go out and address crime issues out there. So it looks like we're going to be doing that here very soon. We're going to roll it out and kind of have them working as a two-man team initially so they can get comfortable for working without a deputy in the car. We're excited about that because that's one of the big things that needs to be affected, and that's a response time to citizens who need a report. You look like you have a question, sir.
A couple. Are you guys going to be, your deputies going to be uniformed, and what is going to be the vehicles? How are they going to be tagged?
So they're going to be full-fledged post-certified police officers. They will be uniformed. They're going to have guns. They'll have the powers of arrest. Everything that a deputy sheriff or a CHP officer can do, our officers will be able to do it. As mentioned before, our approach and what we're going to be doing is going to be more community engagement and dealing with root cause issues, having officers that have the ability, if we have problems that are ongoing at, say, the auto mall, our officers will be the team that can go over there and continuously address that instead of calling the Sheriff's Department and having them come out and just take a report, which is necessary. We'll be the team that can go and say, okay, let's look at this. Let's figure out what we can do to solve the problem and deal with the issue. We're already doing that. As I mentioned, Lancaster and Jane Reynolds Park, those are examples of it. And that's not just us, that's working with the Sheriff's Department and dealing with those issues. But that's what this department's going to be about more than anything, trying to deal with some of the root causes that are just ongoing and drains on our department and problems for our community. They'll be uniformed. We're not going to look like the Sheriff's Department. We're going to look like pretty much every other police department you see. We'll have that blue on. Okay. Took me a while to adjust when I went to Sierra Madre and took the tan and green off. But I got to be honest, I look better in that blue. So the vehicles that got approved last night are Dodge Durangos, very nice vehicles. We also wanted to have a different look than the Sheriff's Department in that manner, and that's why we picked those vehicles. I think it's important that the community knows we're dealing with the Lancaster Police Department or we're dealing with the LA County Sheriff's
So
Department.
that's what they'll be marked as, Lancaster Police Department?
Yes, sir. They'll say Lancaster Police Department. We're going to have the flower on there. So, the minute they get here, we're going to roll them out and make sure you guys, we'll bring one here so you can get a look at it and see and understand what it looks like.
And when do you guys actually plan on having your deputies sign in and actually hitting the streets?
So we're projected to have them on the ground in January 2024. So as we've done with pretty much every position we've hired since I got here, we understand the importance of having community input. So we'll be coming to you and other community members and saying, hey, will you join us in our hiring process and join us in our interviews? Because we want to build something that is community-based and that we're hearing what the community wants to see in their officers. So we'll be doing that again.
So you guys are gonna have an independence station? If you do, where it's gonna be?
Yes, we are. The city purchased, before I got here, the old Antelope Valley High School District building.
Right across
so
from
that-
Cats.
Yes. So that's going to end up being Lancaster Station. It'll house the police department and public safety. That's a ways out. There's a lot of work that has to be done in there. But as for now, once we get up and running, we'll still be working out of Jet Hawk temporarily. So that'll be a temporary station. We're not going to have a full-fledged booking, jail, and all of that. In fact, things as you know it aren't going to change. If you have a crime that's occurring, you're going to either dial 911 or call the Sheriff's Department main line and request a deputy. What'll happen in there is they'll respond to what they need to respond to. And if they get a call and it's something where they say, you know what, this is kind of an ongoing issue where our officers don't need to go address something right now, or it's something that doesn't fit in what we're doing, they'll pass it over to us, and we'll have our team go and meet with the people and see how we can work together to solve the issue.
Could you tell me, has this been done anywhere else in California?
No, not that I know of. We're going to be a first. We
Okay.
absolutely are. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure where it's happening in the nation. It might be, but in California, I'm not aware of it, where you've got a city that has two policing entities within it. So this will be different. And that's the goal, to keep both. There's no efforts to get rid of the Sheriff's Department. They do a fantastic job. We're just going to try and bring another piece that needs attention, and that's kind of difficult for them to get to right now. So,
Well, congratulations. I'm excited as a resident and look forward to it.
thank you, sir.
Any questions for Ron?
Yeah. It just, it leaves me a lot of questions. And you said that the police officer, not deputies, right?
Yes.
Then the police officer, and they gonna carry firearms, they can detain somebody, right?
Yes, sir.
But we're not gonna have a booking station. So the case, we're gonna take it to the sheriff facility. And how is it gonna all working out? I'm pretty sure you guys all figured it out before
Yeah.
you started. It just leaves me a lot of questions on that.
So that currently happens now all over the county, the Sheriff's Department. You can book at Sheriff's Department stations. The CHP does it currently. You guys have booking at your? Yeah, so they book everything they get. It's been that way everywhere I've worked too. The CHP have always booked there, and some other agencies will as well. So that part is already understood. We'll end up having an MOU with them like everybody else that allows us to book our prisoners there, and they'll be transported downtown and to court like every other arrest. We'll have our own investigators that will handle those investigations. My second, Chris Roberts, who is also retired LA Sheriff, is a highly experienced investigator and detective sergeant. So we're bringing in the right pieces to ensure. And as mentioned before, we're looking to hire experienced officers. We're not going to be a big enough agency to hire brand-new officers. So I don't know if we'll turn into something like that, but initially, we want to get highly experienced, recently retired, or planning to retire soon officers, because the biggest part of our, what we're doing is about communication and working with the community and drawing information. We'll work closely with the Sheriff's Department as we, if, you know, an example is if they have an area that's having a lot of, you know, gang issues or shootings, we'll have the ability to go in, ensuring that we work with them and understand what homicide is looking for, and go in and develop community ambassadors and try and draw out some of that information of why things are happening, what some of the problems are, and we're giving our officers the ability to make something happen tomorrow. Like if they go into a community, like we did at Jane Reynolds Park, and the people tell us, you know, the problem is all the street lights are out, or we don't have enough street lights, or, you know, this graffiti won't go away. Our guys will get it done, and everybody who works with us, including our city entities, understand. You get a call from this team, you fix it, it's top shelf priority. You fix it tomorrow at the latest, because we got to make sure the community knows if you come to us, we have the ability to make something happen. So we get their belief, and they share with us, and we understand what needs to be addressed.
Well, congratulations. We're looking forward to seeing this great partnership between the two stations, and it's nice to see a lot of hard work finally coming through,
you.
so.
Thank you so much. We
Good
appreciate
luck.
it.
And now it's chief.
Well, it will be.
It will be.
Although they've been
I'm
calling me
looking forward
chief
to
since
that.
I got
I'm
here.
looking forward to that. But thank you so much.
One other
Everything
quick
you do.
question. Are you guys, I apologize.
No.
Are you guys going to be patrolling the fairgrounds as well, or is that strictly LA County Sheriff's?
So depending on what's happening, I mean, if there's an event going, and we'll talk with the Sheriff's Department and decide, okay, how do we do this? Is it something where we're just going to go ahead and continue to contract with them to handle the safety? More than likely, that's what's going to happen. But in working with them, because an agency has command of a situation, so they'll probably still be commanding that, and especially because of the number of officers that are needed. But we will let them know we are here and available for what you need us to do in dealing with that situation.
Looking forward to you swearing in.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Rod. Thank you so much.
So just a couple more quick things. So like I said, the LETs are coming out soon. We continue to address the issues. We're continuing to identify and address issues, working with the Sheriff's Department. We attacked one, I think I told you about the house last time I was here that was having these wild, crazy parties. We went to work on that specifically, and they haven't had a party in probably over a month now. We're not done. We're trying to partner with our friends in Palmdale, because we're noticing now that some of these guys are saying, oh, we're going to go to Palmdale. So we're telling them this is what we're doing. We want to make sure you know in case it travels south, so because we want to eliminate the issue. Sierra Highway, we've been working on that. I think we're seeing a change out there. I don't see some of the visual things you would see as much as I used to, but we're not done there either. We're working with the businesses. And working with the district attorney's office to address some of the issues out there. And we're seeing an increase in neighborhood watch. Excited about that. I'm going to tell my coordinator to send it to you guys in case you want to attend one. But we're seeing a slow increase in those meetings. Ken Mann has been attending, Deputy Green. So we're excited about that. And National Night Out was fantastic. Like they mentioned, I mean, we had a ton of folks out there. It was a really good time. The mayor came, Daryl Doris came. And I'll take a minute to just touch on that. I don't know if you noticed last night, but Mr. Doris unfortunately resigned for his own personal reasons, I'm not sure, but he was a credit to this council and this city. So if you get a chance to reach out to him, I'm sure he would appreciate hearing from you. And so National Night Out was great, and he was out there. I'm thinking of doing a presentation for you guys next month on our complete public safety program, so you can see everything. So if that's something the commission would like to see, we'll put that together for the next meeting. And then lastly, I know we've been running on, I want to take a minute to recognize and thank Katie over there, because she actually runs 3 of these and council right now. She hates credit, but she's fantastic, and she does a phenomenal job. So I want to thank you, Katie, for what you do for the city. So, any additional questions?
Any questions for Ron? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Congressman Garcia's office. Anybody here? No? Senator Wilkes.
Good morning, members of the board. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joelle from Senator Scott Wilkes' office with a ledger report for you today. I have a couple bills here and then just a couple updates. First up, we have SB 698. This was authored by Senator Wilk, and this bill explains that services from a California Science and Technology Policy fellow aren't seen as gifts, and the fellow isn't part of state civil service. And I'm happy to say this bill was signed by the governor and was chaptered into law on July 21st. Next, we have SB 868, which requires each K-12 classroom to have a trauma kit available in case of an emergency. It's been re-referred to the Committee of Appropriations on July 12th. Then we have an Assembly Bill 452 by Assemblywoman Ediz, which eliminates the statute of limitations for claims of childhood sexual abuse. And this passed 9-0 with Senator Wilk supporting it. It was read a second time and then was referred to the Appropriations Committee on July 13th. Senator Bradford's bill, SB 50, would prohibit police stops for 5 low-level traffic violations, meaning broken headlights or bumpers and such. And this passed the Senate 22-11 with Senator Wilk opposing. It was re-referred to Committee on Appropriations on July 11th. And then last we have SB 14 by Senator Grove, on which Senator Wilk is a co-author. And it adds child trafficking to the list of serious felonies and makes this offense eligible for the 3 strikes law if committed after January 1st, 2024. It passed the Senate 40-0 with no opposition, and it was also referred to the Appropriations Committee on July 13th. And then just a couple things. August 14th, the legislature returns from the summer recess, and then September 14th is the last day for either house to pass a bill. And lastly, this is news that comes directly from Senator Wilkes' office. Our summer internship program is coming to a close, and so the fall applications open. If you know anybody, any young people college age who are interested in politics, legislation, fieldwork, or so, they are encouraged to apply. We don't currently have a deadline to apply, and the application is quite easy to access through Senator Wilkes' website. That's all for me. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
questions?
you. Any questions? Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Assembly Carrillo's office. Anybody here? No? Okay. Then we'll move along.
This is a time to address the Lancaster Criminal Justice Commission on non-agendized matters. Speaker cards can be found on the back table of the council chambers. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each unless a different time limit is announced. State law prohibits the commission from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Mr. David Paul.
Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners, good morning. You know, it's fun to be a private citizen individual because I can say what I think without worrying about repercussions other than the natural ones. You know, my goal here has been, and I've been itching around this for several months with this commission, to get a recognition from you that I can take to the side that wants to stir up racial tensions and say, I have this. In other words, I was a charter member of LEAPS, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, which are retired judges and police officers that come together to say the war on drugs was a mistake. And I don't want anyone here to feel like they have to admit to any wrong. Just say that we recognize disparities in outcomes in policing. It's just an attempt to get the other side to come in here. You know, I don't know about you guys, but hearing Tom Lackey today and stuff, does anybody think that any agency in government works perfectly? So why should the Sheriff's Department, the Lancaster Station, and I've studied this in depth, be under this settlement agreement that is impossible to escape from? And the real problem is that all the time our deputies are living under this weight of being less than good. That's crazy. That's crazy, demotivating, and stupid. So if I could get those guys in here to work with you in some way to comprehend that it's better if we work together and challenge some of these myths that exist, or just want to be victims, that's not good. You know, there's just how you relate to the world, and that's how we're going to bring people together. And there's plenty of evidence. I have 2 new books on racial problems written from different aspects, and I'm just digging into all of this. But this is a way to circumvent the powers that prevent it, because it's just this commission's flag with these other people that are agreeing to work together for a common goal to get the Justice Department to let these guys out from under this stupid agreement that is, there's no way to complete it. There's no way to satisfy it. It's an exercise in futility. So that's my pitch. That's what I want. If you have any interest in that or can see a way around the limitations, it's easier to get forgiveness than permission. So if we just work on this together, I can go out there and draw these guys in and get them to work with me to put an end to this settlement agreement and let us all start fresh. So that's my thing. Thank you.
David, thank you, as usual. Thank you very much. Commissioner comments, anything? No? Then we'll stand adjourned until Wednesday, September 13th.